All right, welcome into the Ryan Ripken Show. Switching it up in here if you are watching. But hey, hope you're having a great Thursday. We're almost to Friday, and let's talk to you about what is up and coming for the show today. Well, the Orioles are off to Cleveland. They play the Guardians, so we're going back to our Guardians reporter. Joe Nogo of Cleveland.com is going to join us to talk about the series. Then we have David Hall down on the farm, down in AAA, to talk about the recent moves in trade deadline and with Jackson being up, Coby Mayo staying down, and Heston Kjerstad, recent move. We'll touch on all of that with David as well. And, we'll touch a little bit on what happened, what we did yesterday, fellas, and kind of look at what the teams look like in baseball after this trade deadline. So first things first, let's talk about who's in studio with us here today. Actually, now to my left, we got Kevin and Rocco. Boys, fellas, how we doing?
Doing all right, man.
Yeah,
no complaints at all.
Busy week. Have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
We got a lot to talk about, and we have a lot of videos from the other night. And a guy that took a lot of those videos behind the scenes, Brad. How we doing?
I gotta fix the hair, but I'm doing good. doing good. Yeah, last night was awesome. By the way, first time I really felt like I had some sort of idea of what it's like to be in like sports media as a journalist.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of appreciation for Rocco over there, but it was crazy. I mean, crazy in a good way. But had a great time, and shout out to Maroon PR for giving us an amazing experience. That was great.
Yeah, the Stateside Cup was phenomenal. So for those who didn't know, we were promoting it all up for the last couple months. The game finally happened last night in Annapolis at Navy Marine Corps Stadium. It was Crystal Palace versus Wolves. We were on the field. We were getting videos. We were putting the reels together. Some of you saw on Twitter X. Kevin was getting ready for the game himself, but you got to be prepared, Kev. So at least I'll say this. You can't get an opportunity if you aren't prepared, and you were prepping. I was proud of those little arm circles you were doing there, bud.
I was getting it. I got to stay ready. Yeah.
So, we got a lot of behind the scenes content too, which will be amazing. Rocco obviously got it. And then there's one moment that we didn't get, and that's for our other guest. I can't forget, not guest, but our other member who's not in studio usually is Zach Bollinger behind the screens. And I wanted to bring that up, Zach, because I missed a great video of you last night at the game, and it haunted me for the duration of last night into this morning.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you said we got a lot of great video yesterday, I was going to say we did get a ton of great video, but we did not get all the great video. There was a little mishap on the whether or not the record button was hit or not. There was a lot of celebration going on about how we got a fantastic shot of the goal until we realized it was not.
We meaning Ryan. To clarify.
Let's just call it. Let's call it out.
I was a designated quote unquote camera guy, but Ryan was the one that screwed this up. So I just wanted to clarify.
It was sad.
Yes.
It was sad.
It really was.
Watching from the stands, you guys were all hyped down there when Ryan, it was like Ryan looked like he was hyped, and then you came up to me and told me he did not hit the record button. I'm like, how could you, man? That was almost better than the first goal we got. Like, you had it, you had everything going on, and then you just kind of crapped the bed there. So very well done. We appreciate you, and better luck next time.
You know what? I'll take this. It's called accountability and responsibility. So Kevin, Rocco, Brad, everyone take notes on this. I messed up. I had the camera out, had everything, had the angle, but I guess that's why I need a new phone. No, you hush for a moment here, Kevin. Had my phone ready. Thought I pressed the button, but I need to get a new phone. Did all the movements just to realize it didn't. Now go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do what you just did. You messed up.
Yes.
You messed up.
Yeah.
And I just said that.
Yeah. So
I articulated that.
So we can say you messed up.
We know how.
Did you not just hear me just take responsibility and said accountability?
And then deflect.
I wanted to let you know.
Then you deflected. Back against the wall, you weren't going to go down without swinging. You threw some haymakers there.
What really haymaker? I said I thought I did it, and then I looked at it. You know what? When you point the finger and you have the thumb up, I'm not looking at pointing the finger. I'm looking at the thumb. The thumb's at me. Blame me.
But the finger seems at us.
Yeah, well, it's not. Okay, I'm done with this. And the other part for the show running late, I apologize. It's okay. We'll get through this argument. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but for our Holy Shirts and Pants members, I hope you forgive me because we will talk about the Stateside Cup in more depth upcoming. We have so much content that we haven't sorted through yet, but we do have our guests coming on here soon. And the reason we were running late right now, Brad, is we had a special interview we had to do.
Yep.
And I will play a teaser of that. I've been asked for this for the longest time. And Holy Shirts and Pants members, after this, you will get the first look at it. Let me show you the guest that I sat down with. And just a little teaser on, it's not even touching on what we all talked about. But let me pull that video up for you this guys. For a while. And I've kind of held it off because, you know, Bill, you understand this. I like to try to keep it to the side. And you and I are going to have a talk about that maybe in the future.
Let's first just talk about Jackson Holliday, the talent.
So that was a very close little snippet, but I finally ripped the Band-Aid off. I'm so conscious of that with my family. You know, I wanted to keep it at bay, but Brad, I thought it was a great conversation with my Uncle Bill Ripken, MLB analyst. I think he is at the top of the game with explaining the game of baseball. And man, he gave such in-depth answers. We had great back and forths. So that's going to be available. And yes, you heard right there. We talked a lot about Jackson Holliday and the number 7 and just what he thinks about this Orioles team. It was a fantastic conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too that like I think that it was probably one of the best interviews you've ever done. And it makes sense because obviously it's a family member of yours, but like I really enjoyed just sitting back and taking the controls here and just listening to you guys talk. It was an enjoyable experience for sure. And I know the fans are going to love it. If you guys want to see it first before anyone else, our exclusive Holy Shirts and Pants members, go check that join button next to subscribe, sign up with us, help support the channel in that way, and then go watch this interview because it is well worth it.
Yeah, honestly, and it was very relaxed. And Bill, what you see with Bill on TV is exactly how he is off of it. Genuine, authentic, and it's been a really cool moment. And in the future, I can talk about it. And a guy that understands expectations, pressures, and going through it, Bill understands that. So it just was really cool to talk about it from a personal sense, from a sense of what Jackson Holliday is going through right now and the excitement behind it. And then also just baseball in general. The MVP race was heating up. The deadline just happened. And it just, you know, Bill made me think a little bit more. It was a great little back and forth here. So I know you guys will all enjoy it. So again, if you join, it'd be great. And D Porter, thank you. Look at the claps, everybody. Good claps. Good. Oh, there's Zach. Good claps.
Appreciate you, D Porter.
And D Porter says, what's up, fellas? It feels like Friday, so happy Friday. It is almost Friday right now. And this is a good opportunity to remind people we are on the audio side. We are working on pushing that more. And Rocco's done a great job of reminding me each and every day. We want you to tune into YouTube, but this is available on Spotify and Apple. And usually at the latest, it'll be available on Friday morning, but sometimes on Thursday night. What you got, Rock?
And follow Ryan on Instagram at Ryan Ripken. We are pushing a lot of reels, short form videos, not short term. They're going to live on his Instagram page forever, we hope.
Yep.
And a lot of good content there. So be sure, if you have an Instagram, give Ryan a follow. If you don't have an Instagram, make one and give Ryan a follow. And let us know what you think over there as well. It's another platform we use.
Be a friend, tell a friend.
Yes.
And then with the podcast as well, for Apple and Spotify, just help rate us and review it. If you don't think it's good, great. We just want to try to fix how we can make this better for you all. We hope you like us, but if you don't, if we're not your cup of tea or you really don't like Kevin, then I understand.
I do too.
Yeah,
I get it.
No.
By the way, I was getting
Also, real fast.
Go
Kevin,
have a beer and chill the fuck out if you're gonna give us a bad review.
Kevin, if you do any weird shit in my chair, I swear.
He's farting in it right now.
I am so nervous about Kevin doing some.
Look at that
weird-
face. It's so concentrated. He's farting in it right
No,
now.
Okay.
What I was gonna say is, so Rocco put the video out of me getting ready to go in the game. I really thought I had a shot. Didn't work out, unfortunately. But I was getting cooked.
Oh yeah.
People were like, I thought this was a ball kid. I thought this kid was 12 years old, and I realized it was Kevin. I was asked last night if I owned anything other than khakis.
Which you don't. Well, all right.
Oh,
This is all an illusion.
No, that's
people.
a flexible leg, Kevin. Okay.
Can we?
Yeah, I don't like this.
Let's all that
Zach,
stretching
take 'em
last
off.
night.
Take them off.
I hope our guest coming on that doesn't hold that
we
against
didn't
us. I think
scare 'em away.
I think we've developed a pretty good relationship with them. But Joe, we'll bring you on here in a second. But it is.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. Zach Lowther from the Clouds.
That might be the
man.
nicest thing anyone's ever
Oh,
said.
also-
Thank you.
Speaking of Zach Lowther, I did want to answer his earlier question. Zach, I am at the beach house right now. So
He is.
I drove from the beach to Annapolis back to the beach last night. Electric, 10 out of 10 experience.
That's dedication here. That's what we do here at the Ryan Ripken Show. And Zach is as dedicated as anyone and as passionate as anyone, especially when he feels like I'm hiding news to him like a Chicago White Sox trade.
That was
But
the
hey-
craziest thing that ever happened.
Well,
That
Zach,
was
if you
wild.
don't shut up, we're only going to have 12 minutes with Joe. So keep talking, figure it out. And then here we go. So thanks.
Jeez.
A lot of hostility. I thought we had a great time. I'm sorry. Why don't we bring on our guest then? Because there is a big series that's taking place starting tonight between the Guardians and the Orioles. We had him on when the Guardians came to Baltimore and really took it to the Orioles. But he is the beat reporter for everything you need to know what the Guardians, covers on Cleveland.com. Let's bring on a recurring guest, Mr. Joe Noga. Joe,
Hey,
I'm sorry about.
thanks, guys. Glad to be back on.
Yeah, sorry about Kevin's trying to get more flexible. Really poor timing or the right timing, depending on how we look at it.
I'm telling you, I just watched the women's final for the gymnastics on the Olympics, and he'd give her a run for the money. I'm just saying that was pretty impressive flexibility.
He's got the height too.
The total package, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So we'll work on
There you go.
actually, Joe. We're gonna hang the rings then from the ceiling and see how Kevin does on the rings or the balance
yeah.
board.
Be like a pommel horse guy.
There you
We
go.
should go
Yeah.
to a gym. We can put me through the rigors. There we go.
That is terrifying. Well, Joe, what's been kind of terrifying is kind of the second half of the season for some teams. It's been a rough start. The Orioles are starting to pick it up, but the Guardians, they're trying to find their way. But this is an important series for both teams. Now, the Guardians have a little bit more breathing room. The deadline has passed. So why don't we start with that? The Guardians make a little bit of moves, slight move. There's a name that Oriole fans recognized. But how do you feel assessing the Cleveland Guardians after the deadline as we approach these final 2 months?
I think the deadline was a very Guardians deadline for them in terms of trying to make moves that didn't necessarily go against what some of their philosophies are. They didn't deal away a lot of prospects. They didn't, make sort of that big headline marquee move. But they did improve the team. They got a right-handed bat that they needed. They got a guy that can slot in the top of that order and get on base for Jose Ramirez and, play a little defense in right field and hit the ball with a little bit of power in Lane Thomas. And then they got a veteran pitcher who is very familiar to Stephen Vogt, came up with Stephen Vogt in the Tampa Bay organization. So the sort of he knows his makeup in Alex Cobb real well. And this is a guy who's been waiting to pitch all year. He's had 6 rehab starts. He's going to have another one on Sunday, and then after that, he could slot right into the rotation and hopefully give them 5, 6, maybe 7 outings between now and the end of the year.
I think that's a part of it where, not every fan base, I should say, always is pleased with the moves that the teams make or don't make. But for Cleveland, if we're just being honest, Joe, we'd had this conversation before, they're trying to figure out what Cleveland was going to be this year. Of course, the expectations were this team could compete, but the back end of the bullpen is spectacular, right? It's the best bullpen for a reason. Then you obviously have, and I just teased, I sat down for the first time, Joe, with my Uncle Bill, and I held that off for the longest time, but the one player that we talked about also extensively, and you love, is Jose Ramirez. He just does everything for the team. Do you think then with the Guardians, with what the moves, does this feel like a team that feels they have enough to continue on to win this AL Central, or is a team like Kansas City that is starting to buzz a little bit? Could they be a team to worry about as we approach September and October?
Yeah, Kansas City has, momentum right now. They made a bunch of moves. They've got, guys in that clubhouse believing in themselves. Cleveland's believed in themselves inside the 4 walls of their clubhouse all season long. The message that they kind of send to them is, yeah, you improved their roster, but they didn't think they needed too much to get over the hump in the American League Central. at least within the clubhouse among the teams. So I guess as far as, what kind of message this sends to your players, that they're where they needed to be right now heading into these last 50 or so games, and they're playing like it, especially coming out of that series in Detroit.
Yeah. And I love Cleveland, by the way. I love what they're doing. And we had Tristan McKenzie in here, and I know it's been up and down for him, but he was in studio here that I guess was the day after you and I, we were all here talking. Right. And he just talked about the belief that they had in the locker room. Stephen Vogt has a great pulse on the players, and that's such an important factor. And I would like to describe the Guardians. They're a gritty team. And then if they get ahead, they trust the back end of the bullpen to be able to close it out here. And I know for the Orioles, this is a team where they've had trouble. I mean, they had trouble with Cleveland a lot earlier. And I'll open it up here in a second. I believe we'll ask Rocco, who can ask about Jose Ramirez more in a second. But one thing I wanted to add is how, after that first series with Baltimore, how do you see it continuing to match up here in this series in particular? Because the Guardians, what they did was really aggravated, in my opinion, the Orioles pitchers, and then they were able to shut it down later in the games. Is there something that you thought watching the Orioles that, maybe from a your fans' perspective, a weakness for the team that was exploited?
I don't know if you can look at this Orioles lineup and really say that they have very many weaknesses. 1-13 in that dugout. I think the hitters in that lineup are going to be a handful for any rotation to get through multiple times, especially when they're going to be throwing a young guy out there in Joey Cantillo on Saturday. We just got word.
I just saw it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the anticipated matchup between Tanner Bybee and Zach Eflin on Saturday is not going to happen. They're pushing Tanner Bybee back until after this weekend. He won't face the Orioles, wow. and that's kind of big. I think he's coming out of his start on Monday. He went 6 innings in Detroit and then felt some tightness in his shoulder. We just learned about that from Stephen Vogt. So, that's sort of a surprise there. But really, I don't think you can look at Baltimore's lineup and say, there's a weakness that the Guardians can exploit. But I do think that if guys like Ben Lively, if guys like Carlos Carrasco can give you the 5 innings and get the ball with a lead to the bullpen, you got to like your chances if you're Cleveland, just the way that the Guardians relievers have been able to line up, 7, 8, 9, and you're facing Clase in the 9th. It's pretty much a done deal.
It is. And actually, I wanted to ask that weakness part, and it was a kind of rhetorical because everyone wants to find a reason why. Every team has ups and downs. And I think it's just, I love to hear it from your perspective. It's a really good Orioles lineup. This is a really good Orioles team, and they're not going to be perfect, but hearing it from your perspective, you answered the question perfectly. Now, Rocco, I think you wanted to talk on this because we're talking about dangerous players. There's no one more dangerous on the Cleveland Guardians than Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Just Jose Ramirez, the season he's having. I mean, first of all, the guy's a 6-time All-Star. He's tied for 6 in homers. He's 2nd in RBIs this season. But it seems like from the outsider's perspective, he's a guy that still flies under the radar. Like he's not talked about as much as maybe he should be. Why do you think that is? Like, what's your perspective living in Cleveland and covering this guy day in and day out?
Well, I mean, he also just this afternoon, the Heart and Hustle Awards were announced, and I asked Stephen Vogt about that specifically today. He plays the game the right way, so he doesn't necessarily bat flip or hit 450 foot home runs all the time and pimp it around the bases or anything like that. This is a guy who hustles and plays hard, and you see, if you're a baseball fan, you can appreciate what he brings to the diamond every day. I don't necessarily know if guys like that are the ones that make the headlines. You've got the flashy players. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus by naming names, but the guys out there who you hit a home run and know it. Jose Ramirez is running around the bases as hard as he can, no matter what, every time he hits the ball, and it's just refreshing. It's different to see. Not everybody plays the game that way, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why he gets overlooked is is because, his game isn't as flashy or glamorous as other guys in the league.
You talked about him not being a flashy player. So you saw the game he homered in twice the other day. I think it was on the 29th when he's running around the bases, gets back in the dugout, and then you have Brian Rocchio behind him just smacking on his helmet. He's like basically playing the bongos on his head with his helmet right there. And Jose took his helmet off, and it looked like he was just like, get off me, man. What did you kind of take away from that moment? Because people found it funny. Others were like, oh man, he was serious right there. Like Brian needs to knock it off.
No. If you know anything about Jose Ramirez, that was he wouldn't have done that if it wasn't done with love. Yeah, I mean, he absolutely loves his teammates and they love him, and that's sort of a reflection of that. Jose actually had told the guys in the dugout, he hit a home run. I believe it was Brian Sammons was the rookie pitcher for Detroit, who he homered off of. He said, I'm going to get another one if I face this guy again. And Detroit left that kid in there, and he got another one. And he basically pointed into the dugout on his way around the bases and said, I told you I was going to do it. And he went out and did it. It's not often that guys can go up to the plate and do what he does and basically tell people, hey, he's Crash Davis. He said, as he called his own home run in the dugout before he stepped out there on the plate.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Ramirez, it speaks for himself right now of what he's doing. It's incredible. And actually, and I don't want to give too much away, but that's what my Uncle Bill and I were talking about is just Jose's just a gamer. He does everything you hope for him to do and what you want him to embody for a team. And when Tristan McKenzie was in here and saying it, I think you said this last time, Joe, and not that you're comparing him to LeBron, and we're actually going to get that real out there, but you're saying the presence that is felt of what he means to this organization, it's so valuable. And that value can be matched to any other team when they look at like the Yankees with Judge, or you're saying the Orioles having Gunnar and Adley. Jose Ramirez is that type of meaning to the Cleveland Guardians. But why don't we talk? Because one thing, Jose drives and runs. They got good players, but they're not known for their offense in particular outside of Jose. Stephen Kwan, fantastic player. But right now they're sitting at middle of the pack here. And I think, Zach, this kind of alludes to the deal that they just made for Lane Thomas. Do you want to take that away?
Yeah, Joe. So appreciate you joining the show again. So Lane Thomas, the Guardians get Lane Thomas over at the trade deadline. He's batting second once again for the Guardians, kind of that bridge between Stephen Kwan and Jose Ramirez. Just from someone who is covering this team, what are your expectations in Cleveland for Lane Thomas, and how do you think he can kind of switch up this lineup that, as Ryan just said, has been middle of the pack and maybe is looking for that boost to help take them over the hump?
Yeah, anytime you get on base ahead of Jose Ramirez, it's going to benefit your offense quite a bit, because he's going to make the adjustments and get runs in, whether it's by hitting the ball out of the park or just if you need a line drive single, he's going to give you that. I've seen Lane Thomas play exactly one game. It was the second game in that Detroit series. Liked what I saw first couple of times up there. I think he was his swing got a little big. He had been traveling from Arizona. Took the red eye, got a little bit of sleep. And then, he told Stephen Vogt, hey, I want to be in the lineup when I can be in the lineup on Tuesday. So Vogt put him in right away. And I think his teammates respected that. His teammates were happy to see him go out there and post up when he was given the opportunity to do that. He gives them a little bit more pop. He gives them a little bit of an added dimension of power. It's a guy who's hit 28 home runs in a season before in the big leagues. But that speed dimension as well. And we talked to him after the game on Tuesday when he did get his first base hit with Cleveland. He was on first base, and Jose Ramirez homered right after that. So it was a conversation. With two outs, he's standing there at first base, and this is a guy who leads the league in caught stealing. So he was third in the National League in steals when he came over. So you ask him, how do you work it out? It's your first game with this team. You're hitting in front of Jose Ramirez. How do you work it out where, do I go? Do I stay? He says, I'm in scoring position basically when I'm on first base with Jose Ramirez. So I was staying put.
Isn't that a fascinating thought?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think he's kind of that sitting into that number 2 spot, just adding that little bit of different dimension to that lineup can be a huge difference maker down the line for Cleveland.
Yeah, he's got a real speed dimension too. Just hustling out ground balls to first base. you can tell the difference, and he's going to pay off once he gets that sort of feeling back and forth with Jose at the plate. It's going to pay off big time for the Guardians.
And that's really the one element. Well, I guess people can argue of saying they're starting pitching. Every team has a quote unquote, weakness. But when you're looking at a team, what do the Guardians do really well? They capitalize on when they have Jose Ramirez at the plate and people are on, but they find ways to scratch and claw. And then they're very, very solid when they have the lead. So it all goes hand in hand. But I think this is more of, I guess, I don't want to say it's a fun storyline, Joe, with this case. And Kevin, I think that's what it's going to allude to. We know that the division right now is your rivals, of course. But we're looking at this right now. This is the two best teams in the American League, Kevin. I think this is kind of where you wanted to go with this one.
Yeah, Joe, I know that, this is almost like the way it stands in the AL right now, battle for the American League with the Guardians a game up on the Orioles. But in your estimation, when you're looking towards what this could be in October, do you view the Orioles as the Guardians' biggest competition in the American League? Do you view the Yankees as that team? Is there another team, or do you think it really could be a Guardians-Orioles race for the pennant?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think the Orioles and the Yankees, the Guardians still have the Yankees at Yankee Stadium later on in the second half here, so we're going to get a better read on them when we get out there to see what those two teams do against each other. Having taken 2 of 3 in Baltimore, I thought that was a good sign for the Guardians that they can sort of stand toe to toe with Baltimore, a team that has been putting up really good numbers. I don't know if I necessarily would say that they're their biggest rival. I think traditionally the Yankees have given the Guardians a real hard time in the postseason just since 2017, and that's going to be a big task to overcome if they match up that way. But the Guardians might be thinking along those lines too. I'm not 100% sure sold on Tanner Bybee. Maybe having experienced this shoulder soreness, I think maybe this might be some gamesmanship in pushing him back so that he doesn't face Baltimore right now. So that if you do get a matchup in the division series and Tanner Bybee's lined up to go against Corbin Burns or whoever in that first game, that Baltimore wouldn't have much to go on in terms of what they're getting against Bybee.
It's interesting, right? It's an interesting thought right there, and we're going to see a lot more of that. But I'll tell you what, Bybee, seeing his stuff, it's elite. He's got really good stuff. And that's a guy they're going to have to count on. And you talked about that struggles with the Yankees. Also having Tristan in, had to poke fun a little bit, but he goes, I don't like watching home runs. But when Judge took him deep in the playoffs, he goes, yeah, damn, I had to look at that one. And it just brings home the point. The Yankees match up well with some of these teams in the AL Central. I mean, I think the record versus the AL Central, New York has been, I think they're elite to say the least of it. So.
Most of that's against Minnesota. So just temper that. That's a foregone conclusion if the Yankees and the Twins meet in the wild card round.
Oh, for sure. But nonetheless, it's a fun little thing. But it does seem like it right now with where the Guardians have built themselves up. They're in a good position that they're going to be in the postseason. Now, a lot of things can change. There's a long way to go, but I don't see Cleveland falling off here, and I think it should be fun. Joe, I would be remiss to say if I wasn't upset that we're not in Cleveland with you to try some dogs and the traditional.
I thought
Cleveland.
For sure you guys would be here so that I could introduce you to the joys of stadium mustard. It's just Burtman original ballpark mustard, the spicy brown mustard. It's the greatest thing you'll ever put on a hot dog.
Well, do you put it on other things, by the way?
You can make you can make barbecue sauces with it. It's very versatile. Michael Simon is a celebrity chef. He's been on Food Network. He's from the Cleveland area, and he swears by Burtman. That's his deal. So you can get from one of my favorite restaurants here. Has a stand at the ballpark. It's actually right below me right now. The Happy Dog, and you can get a hot dog with chunky peanut butter, sriracha, and alien pickle relish. It's a delicious hot dog.
That sounds disgusting.
Alien pickle relish.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's fluorescent green pickle relish, and you can also get a hot dog with Fruit Loops on it because that's the slider dog. That's the mascot here in Cleveland.
Oh God,
unbelievable!
That hot dog would kill me, and
I would try
literally. Oh, my camera's gone.
No, you're
Oh,
back.
never mind.
There you go.
I don't. Yeah, no. That Kevin, we would no longer have a Kevin Ostreicher, a part of the Ryan Ripken show.
Anything for content.
Yeah, but you know what? No, not everything for content. If
Kevin.
you die,
No,
Kevin.
Kevin.
But Joe, you know what? I'll give it a try. I'll try that. That seems like a lot, but I'm not going to judge a book by its cover here. I think for last thing, then we'll get you out of here. Rock, do we want to? I think this is a fun little topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Joe, it's, to fans, I'm sure in Cleveland, I mean, to me, it'll always be the Jake. I know sponsorships have taken over. It's now Progressive, and it is what it is. And I know fans hated to see that name go, but going to games there as a kid, I went to a few. You just loved that stadium. It was awesome. Since you're sitting there, since you have the front row seat right now, what is your favorite moment all time at the Jake? We're going to call it that as a reporter.
Well, there's only really one answer, and that's Rajai Davis's home run that tied the game in Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. I was sitting in the press box here, sitting next to a colleague of mine, Zach Meisel from The Athletic. And, there's no cheering in the press box when something happens, but, the whole stadium is shaking. And when that ball left the yard, I just sort of put my hand, I sort of reached out and I grabbed Zach's arm and I just shook. I physically shook when that happened. And then the realization, now I have to jump into like reaction mode and type a story and put up a post on the website about that. It wasn't just being able to sort of take in the whole moment. I had to actually spring into action and do some work at that point. But that's probably, my number one top all-time memory of this particular ballpark. It's been such a huge part of my, upbringing. I grew up, my senior year of high school was when they opened this park. And I remember after prom, we went to a game, we sat out in the bleachers and we watched Bo Jackson play for the Angels that year. He was right in front of us. It was one of my, favorite players at the time. So just a lot of memories of coming to this park as a kid and then getting to work here is just special.
Yeah, I always love hearing that. Even though, so that has to be that game, the Rajai Davis home run. That had to have been, I don't think it's even being biased. That's one of the best playoff games and best World Series games, obviously, that the world has ever seen. Unfortunately, it was in a losing effort. So out of all those moments, it was kind of having that deflating. But that just seemed like Cleveland's stadium was on a different level. I mean, I couldn't even think through my TV screen. Couldn't imagine what was the emotions going on there with all the fans watching. I think they've seen LeBron James was flexing. They showed on TV. You probably did the same thing, Joe, and you just started talking about it.
You see me flex. Yeah, that's great. No, Cleveland was the center of the sports world at that point. You had, the Cavaliers had just come off of winning the NBA title. They had gotten their rings on the first night of the World Series. They were across the way getting their World Championship rings the night of Game 1 of that World Series. And then Roberto Perez goes and hits 2 home runs in that game. And you could not inject it into your veins any more addictive of just a feeling of just euphoria that night when, Cleveland walks out of here with a win against the Cubs. The Cavaliers are the best team in basketball at that point, and it was just undescribable.
Well, I hope you get to feel that again. But I got to say, I hope Baltimore feels that first. It's been a while since the Orioles have had that experience. Haven't been to a World Series since 1983. So, but I'll say this, okay, Joe, if it's not the Orioles, I would be okay with you experiencing that yet again. Is that a deal? Does that work for you?
I deal. I'll take it. Yeah, that'll work.
All right, Joe, wait, before we let you on the way out here, where can people find all your work of what's going on? And if people want all the inside access to the Cleveland Guardians?
Cleveland.com/Guardians is where all my work is posted. Find me on X or Twitter at Joe Noga CLE. And that's probably the best way to get in touch.
Boom. Well, Joe, appreciate you. Enjoy tonight. If you get that hot dog tonight, whatever it's called, I better get a picture. I need to see a photo of this thing.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's better than the press dining here. So I don't mean to throw them under the bus, but the press dining you really don't want to take a part of. So I'll try to get down and get a hot dog.
I love your honesty, Joe, and I appreciate you. Enjoy tonight. Have a great series, and we'll talk soon. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Joe Noga, everybody.
Yep.
I love Joe, man.
Joe's
Joe's
awesome.
a great.
Awesome.
I love how Joe just tells it like it is, no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, he really does, and that's what we love. And hey, if you love this, hit that like and subscribe button. This is the Ryan Ripken Show. We do it live every Monday and Thursday, but we do have live shows that are impromptu. So we had a trade deadline special. We ran that for 5-6 hours on Tuesday up past the deadline. But we also we just have these scheduled shows that are going to be put out on Apple and Spotify because we can line up our guests this way. So Monday and Thursdays, you can listen on Apple and Spotify, rate and review. And then also, if you want some post-game Orioles love, and that will happen into the fall with the Ravens, check out Kevin and Zach React. It's the first show off of the Ryan Ripken Media or the Ryan Ripken Show. So I guess second show in the, I don't like to say the Empire. Kevin says the Empire all the time.
Kevin loves the Empire.
Kevin loves the Empire.
Loves
I
the
am.
Empire.
I am the Empire pusher right now. That's my thing.
If it ain't Empire, Kevin don't want it.
It's like
You got to get me like the Emperor hood to wear.
But have you seen any of the Star Wars?
Yeah,
So
that
you've
didn't
seen
sound convincing at all.
I have. I've seen them
which
all.
one is what's the Empire
The
Strikes
Empire
Back?
Strikes Back.
Which one is it?
I know Revenge of the Sith is the third one.
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back is
You already fucked it up.
No, he was right on that one.
Revenge of the Sith is not the third one.
Well, if you're talking about when the Star Wars started, because it didn't start in order.
Correct.
So I think that's okay. Now I'm getting
Kevin, 1, 2,
Which
3 are
was
the
genius,
prequel.
by the way.
Yeah.
Not starting it in order was awesome.
Oh, I see.
It is. No, it's Kevin was
don't know.
right. It's the third one.
let's go.
Which one is the Empire Strikes Back in the sequence? This is tough for me, Kevin, because maybe I just watch
Like what
a lot
episode?
of movies.
What episode? is it?
Luke, I am your father. That's where it happened. No.
Anywhere from 1 through 6.
Is it 5
You
or
can't tell
4?
me I'm wrong. You can't tell me I'm wrong.
Kevin, Zach, it is number 5. It is the 5th one. A New Hope is 4. Empire Strikes By is 5th.
Well, I have seen them.
Well, that obviously you really convinced me that you've seen
And
it.
I've seen the Harry Potter movies too.
Okay.
Last Harry Potter movie is the best Harry Potter.
What's your favorite
movie.
series, Kevin?
The Office.
Like, no. Kevin, your favorite movie series, Kevin.
Oh.
This is tough.
Ooh, that is tough. Because the Avengers is like probably it.
I maybe Indiana Jones.
That was so out of left field. Like so out of left field.
I hate that.
And it's not that Harrison Ford didn't have some great moments, and that's awesome. But of all the choices, that's your favorite, and that's okay. But there is some judgment.
Yep, it's right up there with plain hot dogs.
No, that's not even close. A lot of people out there eat plain hot dogs. And also, we're talking about, you guys know mine, Austin Powers, the trilogy. I love it. Electric
Now
for
I have to
that.
look up movie series.
Austin Powers for me. Just for comedy, Austin Powers, just because I'm a
great.
huge Mike Myers fan. Kevin hasn't seen. That's gonna make
No,
me
I
so
have
mad.
not.
All right, let's get back on track here for a second. But yeah, Kevin Zach reacts. They will be live after the Orioles Guardians tonight.
X-Men.
And they
That's my answer.
Dude, it's like out of left field. That's
this is
did you get his reaction on camera? Brad, or were you on Rip
Oh,
at that point? I mean,
yeah.
just goes X-Men.
Yeah,
all right.
we got
But
that.
before, that's tough. Now, God, I'm rattled. Let's get back
man.
on track and let's take a ride on our Adams Jeep before we welcome in our next guest here. So we are riding on our Adams Jeep. I got a lot more leeway right
Yeah.
now.
You got
This
some
is-
range
this
of
is
motion.
different.
Stop
That's-
milking cows, Kevin.
Yo, Kevin, that is not driving a car. That's windshield. That's milking
No,
cows.
that's
then you do the windshield.
udders.
That's
It's
more like
udders.
It's not-
It's udders, Kevin.
some rotation in it, Kevin. Okay, that's sort of.
Why are we putting up one hand like we're?
You were doing that.
No, I was going like this.
That's
you
what
were.
I was doing.
You were throwing
too.
it up like, hey, like you're about to do a dance move, maybe.
Like having you work kind of.
Yeah, you were like going like.
Listening to some ABBA
So straight out.
after midnight right there.
That's better. Gimme. But our friends at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen are one of our OG sponsors. Obviously, it's got that beautiful sign behind Kevin there. Whammy. There it is. Beautiful. Adams Jeep in Aberdeen. If you go up and buy a used vehicle from Adams Jeep and you use the phrase Rocco sucks, I love the Ryan Ripken show, I love the show and hate Rocco, they'll give you up to $1,000 in gas money, a gas card for a purchase. But you must say that to have the deal in place. That's all we have to say. And for another thing, I want to just remind people, we have a lot of things coming up with Hollywood Casino in the future that I haven't filled all of you guys in yet, but we have a tailgate alert for the fall going up there. Yeah, I know. Welcome to the show, guys. I'll explain to everyone, but our friends at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Not bad.
That was
Pretty good.
That was a good one.
Pretty good.
Especially with Zach being virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I didn't say it. I was a little delayed. Like I felt myself delayed. I was like, I didn't catch it. And I was like, I'm not gonna pull Rocco and ruin this.
Yeah. So you did great. Way to learn, Rocco. You hear that?
Yeah.
Self-awareness.
Take notes, Rocco. Put it on the drawing board.
Okay,
okay.
continue.
All right. Oh, you took him off the screen. All right. So in Hollywood Casino up at Charlestown Races, there's a lot of events coming up there. Obviously, if you download the Penn Play app, by the way, you can win up to $2,000 in Penn Play cash just for downloading the app. We will drop the link. And we do have a tailgate event coming up there in the fall. So stay tuned and come join us. So we watch a lot of football up there. All right, let's get back on track. Our guest, he's been one of our most recurring guests. I think he's really fit the vibe of everything that's happened here so
100%.
far. I'm sure he has. I'm not sure. I know he has some opinions about the recent moves here because
Yes. Or lack thereof.
So why don't we bring on our friend? He's got the pulse down at there in AAA in Norfolk. Our good friend David Hall. David, there he is.
What's up, boys?
Hey, what music are we playing today on the piano on the back? What are we opened up to today?
Oh, that's it's a Billy Joel song. Same book, different song. I've loved these days. Name of the song. I can actually play that one, but I'll spare you.
Okay, we're gonna have to. He's gonna have to play
one time.
One of these times, yes.
One of these times you're gonna have to play, David. So get ready for it.
I want
Get
to point out that I don't ever want to be in a car with any of you people because you drive like this. What's going on there?
It's a great
Kevin can confirm you do not want to be in a car with Rocco.
Rocco was actually good yesterday. Rocco only had one mini moment of rage.
I wouldn't consider it rage.
Yeah,
it was just
that's why I called it a mini moment.
I dropped one F-bomb in the car yesterday. I think I was pretty tame.
He didn't appreciate one guy holding his claim in a lane. Rocco wanted to get in the lane.
Get off the tracks when the train's coming through. That's all I gotta say. Get out of the fast lane, move the hell over, and let the blue blur fire away in the left lane.
Blue blur.
Is that what you call your car? The blue
Absolutely.
The blue.
It was the blue beauty. Now it's the blue blur.
Oh God.
We're learning a lot here, David. Blue blur.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a Ford Fusion. There's not much blur to it, but it gets the job done.
I guess I should say right at the top, I hate Rocco. Does that give me anything?
Yes. You'll get a gas card from Adams Jeep over there.
Rocco sucks, David. Not I hate Rocco.
It's all the same.
Works, I guess.
It's all the same print. I love this. This is why I love having David on. He fits right in. Hey, David, let's get right to it because you and I texted the moment this kind of happened, right? And you know where I'm going. One of your favorite guys, and one of the ones that I've really enjoyed getting to know, and I shot him a message after the news. It was Connor Norby. Him and Stowers got moved for Trevor Rogers. They are now part of the Marlins organization. Just initial thought on saying goodbye, just again, re-emphasizing how great of an individual he is, but also what you think this opportunity can be for him with Miami moving forward.
Well, my first thought was that he's going to go and play in the major leagues in Miami, and he's going to wake up every day and walk out of his apartment and be in Miami. And that's a pretty good situation. Mm-hmm. And he's going to go from making $3,700 a month or whatever they make here to 25 grand a week in the big leagues. And that's a pretty good consolation. However, I was pretty stunned that the Marlins sent him out to AAA.
I am too.
Yeah. So he's kind of back in the same boat. And the thing is, the kid just produced here for 2.5 years, waiting his turn. And then his turn came, and it looked like he was going to be in the big leagues for a long time with the Orioles. And then all of a sudden they made a move. So that to me, that was the most shocking move there was.
Yeah.
I wasn't all that shocked about Stowers, but Norby was, I mean, just an incredible teammate, a great dude. And I think I've told you before, he and I have a whole bunch of different connections, both being from, I guess we lived about 40 minutes apart in North Carolina, where I'm from. His personal trainer was my catcher for many years in a collegiate league. He works out with some of my former teammates. So, I mean, we just know a bunch of the same people. He was really easy to talk to, extremely honest. Last year at the trade deadline, he was, again, being mentioned as one of the possible pieces. And he was like, you know what? If I'm trading, so be it. That's part of the business. It's part of the deal. And he was just really honest about it. And I planned to talk to him last week when the Tides returned home. And instead, he went to Miami to play for the Orioles. So good for him.
Yep. And that's the business of it, you know, and I hope the best with Stowie and Norby. The biggest thing for those guys, I just want them to get the opportunity on a consistent basis to sink or swim. They've earned it. They've proven it. And I want to see them get a good runway, have some breathing room to see if they can be big pieces, which I do think they have the talent, especially for a guy like Norby, where it was cool to see him get the moment with Mateo out of the lineup then to get some more run. But then also now it's just bittersweet to see him go, but it could be the right move for him. But now there's another situation because Norby goes away, right, David? And then Jordan Westberg gets hit in the hand yesterday, and then he's out. And so you're going, man, it could be nice to have Norby at this moment. But then you think, would this be Coby Mayo's time to shine, right? It looked like it was aligning. Jackson Holliday gets called up because Mateo's transferred to the 60-day. Jackson Holliday is going to play second base, and he should be in there every single day then to see what you got. Then you thought, would this open it up for Coby? Now, the initial answer is no, and we can talk about that for a second, but I know that you're still surprised that Coby Mayo hasn't broken up here to Baltimore because every time I check, he just seems like he's checked all the boxes, especially offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's still working very hard on his defense. I mean, he's made 10 errors at third base, most of them early. He's kind of shored that up. He's been playing a lot of first base lately. I did watch him work on short hops at first base the other day with the manager, Buck Britton, hitting 2 hoppers from second base to him, early work kind of stuff. And Buck went over and gave him some instruction on footwork and that kind of thing. So that's pretty new to him. So it's still a work in progress. I think what people have to remember is that the guy they did call up, Liban Soto, is on the 40-man. That's a big deal.
Yep.
They just acquired him at the deadline. And he is a guy, and I didn't know this until this morning, that the Orioles claimed off waivers in February. And then the Angels claimed him back. And the Orioles claimed him again in April, but then put him on waivers. And so, I mean, they've had their eye on this guy for a long time. And he's 24. He's got like 23 major league games under his belt. He's hit 280 in 77 games this year in AAA,
right?
With three organizations. I mean, this guy's no slouch. And of course, neither is Coby Mayo, but I think this was a guy with a little bit better experience who the Orioles liked for a while, and they decided on him instead of starting the clock on Coby. And I do want to say something.
Say something, David. Say something.
It might be the best point ever made about baseball front offices. And this might alienate some people. I don't know. And I don't care. It's a little bit like COVID to me. COVID came along, and there was an epidemic, a side epidemic of people not wanting to trust experts, not wanting to believe doctors, all that stuff. Whatever you feel about that, that's fine. But these are the same people. The people making these decisions are the same people who brought you Adley Rutschman, brought you Jackson Holliday, brought you Gunnar Henderson. They have people, they pay money to analyze these players and look at their metrics and their numbers and their secondary numbers and their makeup, and whether they can handle playing in the major leagues. That's not to say Coby couldn't handle it. I really believe he will. But there is a shortage among fans of deference to the people who are really in this. And I can sit here and say it's a terrible decision to bring up that kid instead of Coby. But the Orioles people know way more about these guys than I do or anybody else. So all these so-called experts out there could probably calm down a little bit.
Yeah, well, and I think it's a good point to just bring up of it's easy to assess. And yes, the obvious thing of saying, well, if you want Coby Mayo to have a chance to be the rookie of the year for next year and get a pick, and you can talk about service time manipulation, that's one avenue to go. But they did clearly say with Jackson early on that, hey, we're okay with losing that status because, at the time, and Mike Elias even might have told us a little bit, was, that was maybe more of the most impulsive move that he's made instead of kind of sticking to their script. But their track record is the Orioles have hit on their prospects for the most part. Colton Cowser, especially a guy, and same with Jordan Westberg, that had struggles in their first times in the big leagues. Both have been key parts to this Orioles team this year. Jackson Holliday had his struggle, but had a tremendous moment where he is a review away yesterday, David, from being having a 2 home run, 7 RBI game. And for Coby, I think the context here is his time is coming. I think just people are, it's just when you have all the shiny toys and you hear about it and you see it in the store and you're like, man, I want to be able to experience that. And the Orioles have that with these prospects, but there's a different side of it that I think that we're trying to see. But for Coby, he's that last piece. And there's a reason why they didn't move him, right? There's a reason why guys that Sam Basayo, Coby Mayo, Jackson Holliday didn't go anywhere. I think with one, and maybe that is going with, and I don't know who wants to take it with, but did you guys just talk about with Heston Kjerstad just getting sent back down? And with the move there, I think the surprising thing is, it's safe to say, Kevin, that the Eloy move was shocking, but then here we are with seeing a talented player go back down to Norfolk.
Yeah, and I know, David, we've talked about this on this show, and I think a lot of other people have echoed this, where when there was the conversation a couple weeks ago about, okay, is Heston up for good? I know you and others have said, well, that's up to him. Can he continue to produce? Obviously, there was a little setback after he got hit in the head, got put on the concussion IL, and has come back and since struggled from that. But for Heston, him getting sent down, what's kind of your next step for him in terms of getting him back on track and making sure he can come up again and stay up that time?
Well, thankfully, as many baseball games as I played, I never got hit in the head. So I don't know what that does to a guy psychologically. I'm sure it's different for everybody. And that may be something he's trying to overcome. But knowing Heston, he'll come back here and he will be where his feet are. He will be present. He will play as hard as he can every day here, because that's the only way to get back to Baltimore. And, is he a victim of circumstance a little bit? Yeah, of course. I mean, right after the deadline, you got a bunch of new faces in there and you got to make room for them. Right. And like you said, he's struggling a bit, and he's a really good player. And I know I say this all the time. It's like a refrain. He'll be fine. He'll, like, the thing about covering AAA is that there are a lot of conversations about, okay, I walk up to a guy and I go, you're hitting 298. You're playing good defense. You're driving in runs. You're getting on base a bunch. What do you have to do to get out of here? Like, are you frustrated by that? And the answer I always get is, I can't think about that. Like, this game's too hard to dwell on the mechanizations of front office moves and all that. And just as Buck Britton says all the time, he wants to get these guys as good as they can be so that they'll be ready when they get that opportunity, whether that's with the Orioles or with somebody else. And leading up to the deadline, Buck reiterated, you go out and play hard because you never know who's watching. Every team has scouts at these games. And as Buck said, you're maybe one tough AB or one hustle play away from another, the Milwaukee Brewers going, that's the guy we want. And so that's one reason to play hard every day. The other reason is just self-pride. I mean, that these guys they want to compete, they want to win, and they want to get to the big leagues. And that's how you do it. And so that's what Heston will do.
Yeah, and I think that for Heston, I just wanted to see him get more opportunity because everyone saw it when he came back up the second time, and I still believe it. Offensively, the upside that he has can rival a lot of the best on the team, and I'm happy to see Colton Cowser get going because I think overall as an all-around player, Cowser brings so much. But Heston's philosophy and pop, he looked like that guy that was going to go on a run until he got drilled in the head, and then you had to take time off. But that move for Eloy Jimenez and the moves they made around the deadline, there's no real room here. And I've talked about it a lot, David. I mean, people get up and down about Cedric Mullins. A lot of teams like Cedric Mullins. A lot of teams like Ryan Mountcastle. So when you have pieces like that, it can be roadblocks. And then Jordan Westberg took a roadblock away or created a path because of his ability. So that's just the kind of the way it works, right? So, that's the way the cookie crumbles, Kevin. Know what movie?
Isn't that just a saying?
It is a saying, but it's also in a movie with
it was made famous in a movie
with Jim Carrey and Morgan Freeman. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you heard of Morgan Freeman?
Yes.
Okay. You know that movie where Morgan Freeman plays God?
Yes.
What is that movie called?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Evan Almighty?
That was the other one. It's the
That's
second one.
the
The second
That's
one.
with Steve Carell, right? Yeah.
But
I know.
David gets points for that because
He
it's
does.
the same. It's because Morgan does play God. So
Yeah.
David, you are correct. It's just
But I know it's like he has to. He can't say no or something. Am I?
that's
remembering?
yes,
That's yes,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Do I get points for that?
No.
You got the right actor, though.
Yeah.
What about Shawshank?
Oh, great
That's his best
movie.
performance.
It's
Man.
one of the best
Great
of all time.
movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. We were looking for Bruce Almighty. The answer was Bruce
Bruce
Almighty,
Almighty.
Kevin.
You failed, David.
Wow.
You failed too, Kevin.
Well, okay, now I understand
half
why
right.
David got points. And I
Yeah,
didn't.
half
Now
right
I-
is
now
still
I-
wrong.
Now I understand. All right.
Oh, sugar. Let's talk for a
This
second.
is why we hate you, Rocco.
Rocco sucks.
There he is.
Another $1,000.
Another $1,000. You're just racking up the money on this show right now. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I know you're right, Kevin. A lot of people say cookie crumbles, or some people say, but it was famous in a movie.
Okay.
If I don't know in any other movie that it's said,
No.
and I don't know any other movie series where Morgan Freeman's God. So I thought that we gave you some chances. Now let's dive back in. A little reset. 30-second timeout. It's done. I think it seems like, David,
Mhm.
Jackson Holliday is going to be up there for a while here in Baltimore. I think that Michael Elias came out and said the runway's clear for him. And you've gotten to see him down there, and he was coming back from the injury. Jackson just has the feel right now and look that this second stint in the big leagues is going to be one that fans are really going to remember.
I think the runway was clear in April when they brought him up. He just
Mhm.
didn't produce. And, as he told me when he got back, he was pressing and he wasn't staying with the things that got him to where he was. And those are, as we've discussed, using the whole field and kind of quieting down his lower half a little bit. And he has revamped all that in his trip back here. And I think I've said this on here. I'm not sure. I've said it to other people. But I call Jackson Holliday a six-tool player. And you saw it yesterday. He's got the 5 tools everybody knows about on the field. The 6th tool to me is his ability at 20 years old, after hitting a grand slam and almost driving in 7 runs with a second home run. He goes on live TV, cool as a cucumber. Like, he is not overwhelmed by any of that stuff. And as he told me a couple of weeks ago, when you get to the major leagues, it's just it's the same game. It's just more people watching. There's a few more TV cameras. And I think maybe he didn't really stick with that thought the first time around. And it's a lesson that a lot of guys need to learn. How so many quality major leaguers don't stick their first time. They go up and they struggle and they get a sense of what all this is with all the clubbies and the chefs and the private planes, and like it's a whole different way of going about this job, and sometimes you need a little adjustment. I think that's exactly what Jackson had in April.
Yeah, I think that what we talked about, or at least with Mike Elias, one thing's they want to be more calculated, but he was so impressed with Jackson, and he had a great spring training. And actually, for those, David, I interviewed my Uncle Bill before this, which is going out again for the Holy Shirts and Pants members as soon as this stream ends for you guys first. And yes, we'll have it out there. But Bill was even saying, and we saw it. Jackson made the case to make the team out of spring training, right? He looked like he was ready. He went there the first couple of weeks, raked there in Norfolk, and then there was a lot of pressures and stress and expectation. But now it seemed like things have calmed down, and Jackson can settle in. And again, he's 20 years old, everybody. 20 years old, which is still crazy to think what I was trying to accomplish at 20.
I couldn't talk to a woman at 20, let alone a live TV camera.
You know what? Preach, right? What I think, Zach, you had a quick thing because, David, unfortunately today I realized my schedule gets thrown off. I got to do something at 5. Which is kind of crazy, which if I sign off beforehand or we wrap it up. But Zach wanted to get you this question. Yeah. We've hit on a lot of the prospects, and this is one that also went under the radar.
Yeah, David, once again, I will tell you, no matter how many times you come on, every time you come on, I get texts from people beforehand how excited they are that you're coming on. So absolutely love it. But a guy we've been talking about a lot of people, obviously Norby, Stowers leave the organization, someone that's been falling under the radar, Billy Cook. I absolutely love that the Pirates are kind of building up an offense down there. I love their moves at the deadline. And one of the moves I loved was acquiring Billy Cook. Obviously, I don't think he had a shot or really a position here in Baltimore. But in your mind, what are the Pirates getting out of Billy Cook? And do you think he could be someone that does help them maybe down the line as an everyday MLB player?
Yeah, I mean, he was hitting 262 here, I believe, with 11 home runs. Driven in 43 in 70 games. Yeah, I mean, a good player, a good teammate, a good dude. I like talking to him. A lot of times that's kind of half the battle. Just a guy who's not going to stink up your clubhouse. He plays hard. I think they will probably be very happy with that deal. And like you said, he was one of many people stuck here in Norfolk, and it didn't matter really if he hit 362. So it's probably a great move for him as well.
Yeah, you got to move on, right? It's a part of the moves and certain things. It was great to see what we hope here. And this is the thing, David, you see this all the time. You hope, because these are great dudes, that they are going to get the opportunity, and hopefully it's in Baltimore, but they get to live out their dream because you see how much work they put in. And Billy's another guy that he played himself under the radar, and a lot of people talked about how much they think he's a really good player, but there was no place for him in Baltimore. And it's evident, and it's hard when you have veteran players that are playing at a high level and guys that are on the higher pecking order, so to speak here. So I think that's great. David, before I let you get out of here, do you have your other shades with you? And also, yeah, I know you do.
Of course I do.
Yeah, come on now.
Different ones.
Oh,
Hey.
Zach.
Unbelievable.
Man, this is a good look. Where can people find? Yeah, we are looking good.
There's a story behind these, actually. There was a pitcher here, Korean dude named Suk-min Yoon a few years ago. The Orioles paid a bunch of money. Yeah, the guy made a fortune in Korea, playing in the KBO, and he bought these things for everybody on the team. And one guy took one look at them and said, "These are ridiculous. Take them." And so that's how I came to own these things.
We love the stories, and you know what? You look great with them on. And David, let people know where they can find your work as always, because for anyone that wants to have boots on the ground about the Tides, you are the go-to guy.
I appreciate that. It is pilotonline.com. The name of the publication is the Virginian Pilot, and you can find me on Twitter/X at David Hall VP, as in Virginian Pilot. So look me up.
Look him up. And you know what? At this moment, Rocco's trying to look it up he's trying to get on this.
I feel like I look like a cop.
You might be.
You definitely look like a cop.
Well, with that.
Hey, look at
that hat.
Let's go.
This is a whole look right now,
David.
I love
This
this.
is a vibe.
David,
you
this
know
is
what?
why you're everyone's favorite recurring guest over Rocco.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, no. Rocco's not going to take that all of a sudden here.
I can't even hear him right now.
All this tough guy.
Probably
See,
for the better.
This is what a good show is all about. 4 cool guys sitting around talking. Sorry, Rocco.
Boom, baby. Rocco's trying so hard to get this done here, David, but he can't.
Man.
He can't figure it out. But
You
hey,
look like Cousin Eddie, David.
I think you found it.
David, we appreciate you, man. We're going to have you on more and more, and we got a lot left to talk about, and we still got to have our stories. I think actually what we're going to do one time with you, David, is take you behind the scenes with our members, so we can have a little bit off-air discussions, which we've done before, which people really liked, and that's where we can really things can get a little bit spicier. So
I would love that. I've
Hell
got the
yeah.
spice.
appreciate it. All right, David, enjoy yourself, and we will talk soon.
All right, boys. Appreciate it.
David Hall, everybody.
Hey.
I love
My
David,
favorite
man.
guest every time.
Oh,
Without
yeah, hands
question.
down.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So good.
Amazing. Well, guys, I got to wrap it up here. And now Rocco pulled out the shades a hair late. But he tried because he's a good kid. Well, guys, everyone, I'm sorry. I got to get on out of here.
man.
Maybe we'll hop on for a little post-game stream, but I got to take a call and talk about what's going on with the Orioles pregame. So cue the music. As always, here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate you joining us. And enjoy your weekend. Guardians and Orioles are taking off here on Thursday. As always, have a day, have a night. We will be back soon for another edition of the Ryan Ripken Show. What is happening over there? Oh, my goodness.